it's in Paul Violet's group with the Starburst Foundation. He actually works for a major car company in Detroit. Now, he hasn't said which one. I have a really good idea about it, and he's a very interesting character. He's an AI expert who writes AI programs that learn from AI programs. So his job is actually to look after all of the information that in the cloud that allows the cars to self-drive. So there is competition, like you say, because that's in Detroit. I won't say who it is because I'm not sure. I think I know who it is, but I won't say. So there is competition, and there is even a hover car recently that came out. I can't remember the name of the company, but it's not a true hover car because what it is it's like a drone. It's got propeller, like you know how it said no fans, no rotors, no blades.
Yes.
These have blades just like drones, and what it is it looks like a car because they made a body around it like a car that's transparent to the air, essentially, right? The air can flow through it, but it looks like a car. So it's going to be maybe the first hover cars you're going to see, but it's not going to use anti-gravity technology.
Right.
That is not anti-gravity technology.
Would it have a vertical takeoff and land as well? Or
yes. Yeah. There is. In fact, there's one. I'll send it to you in the next few days when I find it. But there's a version that came out of China that I've actually got a picture of, and they've already had like 1,000 flights, already test flights of it. Right. As a matter of fact, I think maybe even within this year or next year, it will be operational in China. But again, it's got 4 propellers. Right. It's one of those.
It's not anti-gravity, so
yeah, it's not anti-gravity, but it is vertical takeoff and landing, and it will it'll do VTOL, and it'll do a lot of really cool things. And it's not going to have free energy on board either.
Right. That's what really makes this stand out, is the free energy. Also wondering, how would this affect something like Tesla, the Tesla company? Elon Musk's Tesla.
No, that's a good question, actually. Yeah. Tesla, I would imagine that he has plans somewhere down the road. It's kind of a funny thing because I've been on Twitter. I was on Twitter. I got to get back on there. Elon kicked me off, actually. We're going to have a talk about that, but with Elon when I get a chance. It's pretty neat because it is coming along, essentially, the technology. But I think Elon's working on the chemical rocket program. Elon is working on what's behind you on the wall. He is still working on that, essentially. And on Twitter one day, it was a picture of Elon with his child, and it was something about teaching his child something. And I said, oh, it was teaching his child space engineering or something. And I commented back with, why don't you teach him electrogravitics? Right? So,
maybe he is, but he's just not saying.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I was actually asked by someone if I wanted to talk to Elon because of the space chart that's behind you. Because I know the man that released the space chart, Frank Chile. One day somebody came along that knows Elon and said, hey, would you like to talk to him one day? And that's why I said maybe one day I will get a chance to ask him why he canceled my Twitter account, sort of thing. But he's going to eventually move into this technology as well, for sure. The whole world will.
I'm surprised he's not at the forefront of it, but on the other hand, I'm not surprised because he's still in the other direction. So
yeah, well, that chart that's behind you, there's down the left-hand side of it, there's the dates, and the very bottom of the chart goes to the year 2100. And we're actually only about halfway through that chart. So Elon's got a lot more work to do to get through that, because he's got all the government contracts and private contracts with the chemical rocket program. But once electrogravitics and this stuff comes on board, like I said, The real clue in the Hovercar is in the model number. It's SM2032. Now, all of Chris Bescar's designs start with SM, which stands for Super Machadi, I think, or something like that. I can't remember, but they all start with that. But the 2032 is a big clue right there, right? You know, but hopefully sooner. I mean, this could happen a whole lot sooner. And, you know, if everything goes well with the elections, with your guys' elections coming up, I would say within a year after that, you're really going to start seeing stuff accelerating, essentially, and this stuff might even come faster. I do know they're working on building production of them sort of as we speak, actually, so that there's enough of them, you know, or they're setting up the production to build those large quantities so that they can bring them out and everyone can have one, essentially. Yeah, and there are other things too. For example, I'm connected to the Russian space program quite a bit too, and I know of a place in Russia that is actually doing pretty much the same thing that Stevati Aerospace is doing in America, essentially. Maybe we can talk about that on a later podcast as well, because that will be a whole other deal. But yeah, so I'm kind of tapped into that because of a book that I was asked to have a look at, the English version of a book called New Aerospace Technologies. And it's written by Alexander Frolov. And Alexander Frolov is the former owner of the Faraday Lab in St. Petersburg, Russia. So he's a major Russian scientist. And I agreed to do the book before the war started. And just a little while ago, I contacted Frolov, and we came to the conclusion that we're not going to do anything until the war's over, essentially, and then we're going to maybe go from there, essentially, with the book. But the book is a book on ether physics, and in fact, it's probably the best book ever written on ether physics in history, as a matter of fact. And I was asked to look at it because of some quantum kinetics. Carmen actually asked me to look at it, as a matter of fact, because Carmen knows Alexander Frolov personally. So she asked me to have a look at it, and my conclusion was that the physics that they were talking about in aerospace technologies, the ether physics from the Russians, was the same physics of subquantum kinetics, except that Paul, like I said, took it one level lower and said what makes up the quantum, and which is the subquantum, and the Russian book doesn't go to that level, essentially. But it definitely matches. So my thing was that it is something that definitely matches the theories of ether physics that come from Nikola Tesla himself. And when I had contact with Paul Laviolette before he passed away, I actually nicknamed him Tesla 2.0 because Paul literally took Tesla's work and finished it, in my opinion. And on another confirmation, if you read through Elena Danon's books and you read some of Thorhan's writings, Thorhan will say in there that, and I say it two different ways, all is sound and sound is all. I don't remember which way he says it, but I always say it both ways, because that's what is the true building blocks of our universe in our dimensions that we're in now. So it's pretty interesting stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, thank you for your presentation and for giving us all this information. I do appreciate that. And for coming on.
You're welcome.
It's been an honor and a privilege to have you, and look forward to future podcasts with you and more information. And yeah, just keep doing what you're doing. I think it's awesome.
Definitely. Thank you. Yeah. So next time we'll talk about that chart that's right behind you on the wall there. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Looking forward to that. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, thank you everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you at the next podcast. And thank you, Ed. And ciao for now.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.